Greetings, everyone, and welcome once again to our third installment of our health and wellness seminar. For those who may not be familiar, who haven't been here, I'm Ken. This is my beautiful wife,
Erica.
and we are with Change Bible Holding Ministries. We want to thank the Telehoma Church, Pastor Milano and his wife, and also the Floyd family for having us to come. It's been a blessing thus far. We would say, would you say the same?
Amen.
And, we've had people to come to us and share their experiences. And I know sometimes as we go to put things to our mouth and we realize, wait a second, I just heard about that. We have to go and put it back down. And so we want to come by and share some more information on today. We have talked to some of the members of your church to figure out what is something that could be of interest to you guys once again. And so we hope that this will be a blessing to you. We'll share it in just a little bit. All right. So we're going to go ahead and open up with a word of prayer and we'll begin. Let us pray. Father in heaven, we thank you, dear Lord, for this day. We thank you, dear Lord, for the beautiful sunshine that we have outside and the opportunity to come on today. We ask, dear Lord, that there be anybody who was transitioning here, that you grant them safe traveling mercies, and that the information that we hear on today, that we may apply to our lives and wisdom from you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and begin. Let me just make sure that everything is in view. All right. This is week 3 of our health and wellness seminar. Let me get out the way of the screen. And we have talked about on the last few weeks. Matter of fact, let me ask you, on week 1, what was our theme?
Diseases.
Common diseases. And what were 4 of the common diseases that we discussed? Hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. You're right. And these are the 4 common diseases that we see plaguing not just the United States, but the world as a whole. We see cardiovascular disease being the #1 killer of people across the globe, and with cancer being a second. And so we see here and we learn that a lot of our diseases can be avoided. Isn't that right? Many of the diseases can be avoided. And the phrase that we learn, it says that our genetics loads the gun, but our lifestyle pulls the trigger. Again, our genetics loads the gun. There's some things that we are predispositions to in our genes and heredity that make us more susceptible to certain diseases or things than other people. However, just because I'm more susceptible doesn't mean that it has to come upon me. How I eat, how I drink, how I sleep, how I do all these different things determines whether I will become sick with disease. And we see here that there's 4 things that we must become intelligent to. The 4 things is what? Disease, the cause, prevention, and cure. Again, we see disease. I have to know what the disease is. I have to know about the disease and what caused the disease to come upon us, because we learned in Proverbs chapter 26, verse 2, it says that the curse causeless shall not come. What that means is that every disease comes because of a what? A cause. All right. And then in John, in Job chapter 29, verse 16, it told us that the cause which I knew not, I searched out. So not only do we need to recognize that it comes with the cause, but when we don't know what the cause is, I have to look for it. We have to look and see the laws of health that we have, and is there anything that I'm violating? Because we know it has to be one, because why? It came because of a cause, all right? And so we see here, this is some of the symptoms and the risk factors that we covered in common diseases. And it says just refraining from the use and the substance of alcohol abuse, regular physical activity, exercise 30+ minutes of moderate intense exercise. And we read that if we had exercised a few hours a week, that type 2 diabetes would be virtually non-existent. If we exercise just 2 hours a week, maybe 30 minutes every other day, or if we exercise maybe 15 minutes every day, a total of almost 2 hours, that type 2 diabetes would be non-existent. All right. And then it says that we need to have a healthy diet. And we talked about some of the things that constitutes having a healthy diet, reducing or eliminating cholesterol intake. And we realized that cholesterol is only found in animal products. Now, some of us may eat animal products, but we have to lessen that in order to come into a better means of healthy living. Isn't that right? because we know a lot of the times we have diseases in the meats and the things that we have or that we're eating as of right now. And so let's just be cautious on some of the things on our diet and how it can actually contribute to our various different diseases. Eating more fruits, nuts, and vegetables, low fat and refined oils, high fiber, and avoid limit sugar and sugary foods. And we talked about sugar and how sugar actually impacts the body. Sugar actually stalls or stupefies our immune system. So therefore, we tend to get more sick because of the things we eat. When during the course of the year do people tend to get most sick? Holiday times, around Thanksgiving or around November, December, January, right? We have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, and we have New Year's time. And in that you have, we won't bring it, but it's a holiday where people give away a whole bunch of candy. So it's basically giving away free sickness, right? All right. And so we see here basically increasing your garlic intake. And we talked about garlic and how impactful garlic actually is. Give me just 1 second, my slide's not moving with me. But how garlic actually is, and it helps to lower your blood pressure, and also your LDLs, which is your bad blood system, your blood. You have HDL, you have LDL. The LDL is the bad, the HDL is the good. It also lowers your triglycerides while raising your HDL and the regression to plaque buildup. We talked about one of the common things in cardiovascular disease is that plaque buildup, closing down of arteries. We see people who are having to have bypass surgeries, things of that nature. It's because they're bypassing the artery that's already been closed and is inhibiting proper blood flow through the system. Avoid overeating. Make sure that you eat in moderation. It taxes the system, and we talked about that on last week. And a regular eating schedule, and also avoiding stress. Now, it may not always be possible to avoid stress. There's things that comes up in our life that actually tends to, cause us some difficulty. However, how we manage that stress, how we view things, our perspective on things determines whether it is stressful to us, and also to how impactful that stress may actually be. All right, we talked about God's awesome laws of health, and 8 laws of health, saying God's plan. We talked about godly trust. We talked about open air. We talked about daily exercise, sunshine, proper rest, lots of water, being always tempered, and our nutrition. And then we talked about developing healthy eating habits. I'm trying to rush through this because I know my time is short and we have a lot to cover. But for those individuals who weren't here, we do want to cover some of the stuff that you may not have known, because it builds upon as we go throughout the course, okay? And so we see here developing a healthy lifestyle. You may not be able to see it. I changed the background for those who didn't know. But it says masticate your food while eating. So make sure that you are properly chewing your food. It helps to promote proper digestion. What that means is that your teeth, which are bone inside of your in your face, is breaking down and pulverizing the food so that it can actually be easier digested within your system. When you have large chunks going down into your system, there are no teeth inside of your digestion system, are there? So where everything is broken down mostly is in your chewing. Remember that that most of the absorption takes place in the small intestine, about 92%, and 7% in the large intestine. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Make breakfast the most important meal of the day. And we said that you eat breakfast like a king, that you eat lunch as a prince, and that you eat supper as a pauper. All right. And then avoid snacking between meals. Eat regularly scheduled meals throughout the day. We talked about go to sleep with an empty stomach. All right. And that's one of the things when you think of the term breakfast, what does it say? Breaking your what? Your fast. All right. And so we see here, eat moderate meals, avoiding overeating, which taxes the system, even during Thanksgiving. All right. A lot of times we tend to say, oh, I'm going to make an exception for this one particular time. And once you make an exception for that one time, it starts to lead you down a path that you shouldn't have, that you didn't want to go down into. So at all times, let's be temperate in everything that we do. Now, today we're going to be talking about a new topic. All right. We went through that kind of fast. That's great. We'll take some more time to talk about what we went to on today. Stimulants and the body. Stimulants and the body. Can anyone tell us what a stimulant is? What's supposed to come up? There it is. There it is. What is a stimulant? Anybody tell us what a stimulant is? Okay, we'll go ahead and define it. A stimulant is defined as a substance that raises the levels of physiological or nervous activity in the body. So a stimulant actually causes a change in the normal functioning of my body. By taking this supplement, or it says it is a stimulant that has a direct effect on my nervous system. There are stimulants that we take that affects our nervous system, that affects our digestion, that affects our whole body. And guess what it does? It throws it out of whack. All right. So we're going to take a look at some of these things on today. But before we go into it, when we talk about stimulants on the nervous system, some of us may not know necessarily what the nervous system actually comprises of. So we're going to take a look at a quick video that helps us to.
Welcome to 2-Minute Neuroscience, where I simplistically explain neuroscience topics in 2 minutes or less. In this installment, I will discuss the divisions of the nervous system. There are 2 major divisions of the nervous system. The first is the central nervous system, which is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. The second is the peripheral nervous system, which consists of nerves that run throughout the body. The peripheral nervous system itself is made up of 2 subdivisions. The first is the somatic nervous system, which contains nerves that carry sensory signals from the body to the central nervous system, and nerves that carry motor signals from the central nervous system to the skeletal muscles. The somatic nervous system is associated with voluntary movement. When you clicked on this video to play it, the signal to depress your finger was sent from your brain to your finger via the somatic nervous system. The second division of the peripheral nervous system is the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is sometimes called the involuntary nervous system, and it is involved in regulating the internal environment of the body. It carries signals from internal organs to the central nervous system, and from the central nervous system to the internal organs. In this way, it's involved in regulating things like digestion and heartbeat, which are generally outside the realm of conscious control. The autonomic nervous system can be further subdivided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers. The sympathetic nervous system plays a large role in stimulating and mobilizing energy resources, while the parasympathetic nervous system acts to conserve energy. For example, if you're in a frightening situation, the sympathetic nervous system will cause your heart rate to increase, your blood pressure to increase, and your sweat glands to be stimulated. If you're eating a meal, however, and are not frightened, your parasympathetic nervous system will stimulate digestion, increase salivation, and slow your heart rate. Due to these functions, the sympathetic nervous system is often described as being involved in fight or flight responses, while the parasympathetic nervous system is described as being involved in rest and digest responses.
All right, so we have just a little bit of information on the nervous system. And so I know that went kind of fast, so we're just going to on out and run over it over the next few slides. And so we see here that the nervous system is comprised of the central nervous system, which deals with the brain and the spinal cord, and then the peripheral nervous system, which talks about the nerves that runs all throughout the body and communicates with the central nervous system. We see here that the peripheral system is divided or subdivided into 2 different branches, and it's the somatic nerves that carry sensory signals throughout the body, talking about voluntary movement. So when I decide I want to pick this up, this is part of the somatic nervous system. And then the automated or the autonomic nervous system has to do with the involuntary actions of my breathing, of my heartbeat, of my digestion, things of that nature as well. So mind you, we're talking about stimulants, and we're talking about how stimulants affect what it is that we're talking about now, the nervous system, all right? And so we see here that the autonomic nervous system can be broken down again. And it talks about the sympathetic nervous system, which plays a larger role in stimulating and mobilizing energy resources. And then also, too, it acts to conserve, the parasympathetic acts to conserve energy. And so we see one is the fight or flight, and the other one is basically the rest state as well. And so we see here, so what is a stimulant? And again, it's defined as a substance that raises the physiological or nervous activity in the body. right? So the stimulant that we're going to talk about and focus on today, many of you may or may not be familiar with this name, but we're going to break it down in just a second. And it's called the methyloxane. Methyloxane, all right? Methyloxane. I'm sorry, I pronounced it wrong. One of the two, I forgot. Methyloxane, I apologize though. But we're going to say methyloxane. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more because methyloxane is a drug that has bronchodilatatory and stimulatory effects. Again, so this is a what? It is a what? Drugs. Now, let me stop and preference the fact that drugs have a place. Would you agree? You know, if I go and I injure myself and I have to go to the hospital for surgery, I'm almost positive they're going to give me something maybe for pain or something to anesthesia in order to go into surgery or whatever it is to. But that's something that's by a situational or situational type matter. But if I'm constantly taking drugs on a consistent basis, is that good for me? No. So when we talk about this, it has a place for it. But if I'm taking it on a daily basis, I'm taking it on a frequently basis, then my body becomes comfortable with it. It becomes accustomed to having it. It actually almost even depends on it. We'll talk about that just a little bit more. But this particular drug affects the bronchodilatatory system and stimulate stimulatory effects. When we talk about your bronchial, we're talking about your breathing. We're talking about your airways, your esophagus. We're talking about your lungs as well. So it stimulates this as well as the nervous system. Now let's take a look at some of the most popular forms of this drug. Theophylline, the theobromine, and what? Caffeine. Caffeine are the most popular. Now, we're going to focus most so on the caffeine because the other two, they're in, and we'll talk about them, but the ones that we most are familiar with is caffeine, all right? And let's look at some of the forms of this particular drug. So we looked at the first one, the theophylline. It is a bronchial dilator. It is a bronchial dilator. The theobromine is a diuretic and is a bronchial dilator and also a stimulant. And we see here that caffeine is what? A stimulant. Caffeine is a stimulant. And caffeine is the means in which it increases activity in your brain and nervous system. It also increases the circulatory and chemicals such as cortisol and adrenaline in the body. So methyloxines are alkaloids that can be found in high concentrations in tea, coffee, and chocolate. Again, it can be found in high concentrations in coffee, and tea, and in chocolate. Now, this is where I'm going to take a pause because I know I'm speaking on some things now that may actually be something that we're familiar with. Just note that every information that we share is information for our learning. The whole purpose of the health and wellness class is for us to learn so that we can be in good and proper health. Isn't that right? We know that God has an ideal for us, and we're working towards that ideal. So it's a step-by-step process. So if you happen to have tea, if you happen to have coffee, if you happen to have chocolate, please don't say, "What was me?" We're going to learn today on how it affects the system, why it is that we should or shouldn't have it, and then maybe some substitutes that we can have as well, right? So moving on. So coffee contains caffeine. Coffee contains what? And we said that caffeine is a stimulant, which is a form of a drug, all right? Tea contains 3 of these. It contains all 3 of them. Caffeine, theophylline, and the theobromine, all right? And the kind of tea that we're talking about the tea that uses the leaves, the teas that's brewed with leaves, not herbal teas. And we'll talk about that just a little bit later as well. And so chocolate contains 2 of them, caffeine and theobromine. So now, mind you, we talked about the fact that they have different components and how they work. Now, some of these have multiple ones. And so when you have multiple stimulants, multiple bronchial dilators and things in that nature, then you get double the amount that you take in your system because it has multiple drugs, right? You could be taking multiple, let me put it this way. You could be taking multiple drugs at the same time, eating one thing, all right? So let's take a look at some caffeine in foods and drinks. Caffeine has anywhere from 60 to 130 milligrams per 5-ounce cup. Tea has anywhere from 35 to 60 milligrams per 5 ounce. Colas have anywhere from 33 to 71, give or take some, milligrams per 12-ounce can. Cocoa powder has 89 milligrams per 1 ounce. Baking chocolate, 40 milligrams per 1 ounce. Dark sweet chocolate, some people like the dark chocolate too. It actually has more than your regular chocolate. And it has about 15 milligrams per 1 ounce, and then milk chocolate has about 6 per 1 ounce. And so that's a big, that's more than twice, double your milk chocolate. And then caffeine contains anywhere from caffeine medication, so like the pills, take anywhere from 15 to 200 milligrams per tablet. Now, if you look at society, they say that you shouldn't typically have any more than like 400 milligrams of caffeine in a day. But if we know better, then we know that if it's a drug and it's a stimulant for our system, we really shouldn't have any of it, all right? And many people become addicted to it. We'll talk about that just a little bit. It says that caffeine is absorbed into the system. Absorbed into the system. It says extremely high levels are toxic. It can cause convulsions and vomiting. Have you ever had, well, no, that's a bad question. Some people may have had caffeine and you feel flip jittery after the fact. Please don't raise your hand. Don't even look. Sometimes you have caffeine and you feel jittery. Let me tell a little bit about myself. A couple days ago, I was out with my son, and we were going through the line and hadn't had anything to drink. And I have a difficult time paying for water. I'm sorry, other than like the can, the little bottles that you get. Just for a little bottle, it's hard for me to pay for water and keep moving when you get it for free. So I said, well, go ahead and grab me one of the drinks over there. And I just told him what the color was, and we just kept moving on. Went, paid for it, checked it out, got into the car, cracked it open, and I'm sorry. Telling on myself, because I should have looked at it and paid attention to what it was. I know it wasn't alcohol or something like that too. It was over there in the juice section. But I picked it up and drank it. And guess what it was? It was tea. It was tea. And I stopped and I looked at it, and because I don't really take any drugs or anything like that, you know, personally, when I do take something like that, it affects me almost immediately. You can feel it, and I can feel something different inside of my system, especially when it comes down to coffee. And I remember a long time ago when I used to take long trips. I used to go to school down in Oakwood, and you used to have to drive all the way up north, up to Maryland. And sometimes you want to have something to help you get up. So you drink like you take like a no-dose pill, or you'll take like, you know, well, I never really got too big on like Red Bull and things of that nature. And then what happens to you? You kind of feel, you know, energetic. Your heart starts beating real fast and things of that nature, and you keep going. Well, we're going to talk about how that's not best. But back to my story about the drink that I just had. My son can testify. I immediately drank and said, "Oh man, what is this?" And I felt it inside of my system as she went in. I read on it. Naturally has caffeine in it. It told you how much caffeine was in it. I had to throw it away. So I wasted money anyway. I might as well just went and bought the water, right? Anyway. So with that being said, it says, so we have extremely high levels can be toxic and cause convulsions and vomiting. And it says that lower amounts still affect the body significantly. We may not always recognize and understand how, but it does have an effect on you because it's a drug and it's a stimulant. And so we see here the sodas such as Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew, Red Bull, etc., contain varying amounts of caffeine. Thus have the effects from caffeine plus damaging effects of excess sugar, phosphorus, and empty calories as well. So if you're trying to cut your calories, there's a bunch of empty calories that you get from some of these as well, in addition to the caffeine. So let's take a look at some of the effects of caffeine on the nervous system. So now we're going to go into how the caffeine affects certain parts of the body, all right? And now we're talking about the nervous system. And so it stimulates the nervous system. It stimulates the nervous system, as we've been talking about. It produces alertness and then depression as some time progresses. And so many people get up in the morning, they take a cup of coffee. They can't start their day without a cup of coffee. First and foremost, it tells you a lot because it lets you know that our bodies become dependent on it in order to operate. When we do something for a long period of time, our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made, and it starts to adapt to it. The things that your body would naturally produce, it doesn't produce anymore because we are using supplements or stuff of that nature in order to do the work for it. You guys understand that? So when I take coffee, my body doesn't now produce the things that it would do in order to jumpstart my day. It depends upon it's dormant, and it depends upon the coffee in order to do it. All right, and so that's not what's best for our system. And it says that overall increase in depression and coping problems in women. And so a lot of people who are depressed is because they're taking stimulants. Stimulants give you this increased highs we just talked about, this alertness or this hype thing, and then it's a crash. I'll talk to you about the trick. So I'm driving up north. I remember driving up north one time on a very limited amount of sleep. And I think I did have one other person with me. And I said I was going to take some stimulants, which was like the no-dose, and drove all the way from Huntsville all the way up to about Virginia, almost to Maryland, right? And then when I got there, we had stopped to get some gas, and I guess my adrenaline went down along with this. And let me tell you something, I crashed. And that is what stimulants do. They have a heightened level, and then it drops down. And what you'll find some people do is that they'll take some more, and it picks them back up, and it drops back down. But then it actually, your body is not, you're not recognizing the signals of your body. I need what? Rest, right? And so insomnia and sleep disruption, irritability, nervousness, restlessness, and anxiety, tremors. They worsen fine motor coordination, headaches. It alters some brain neurotransmitters, aggravates behavioral disorders, and increase the risk of certain mental illnesses, especially in children. A lot of children who they say, oh, well, they have ADHD. It's not really the fact that they may have ADHD, which, some people believe or don't believe, but it's the fact that they have, is what they eat, their diet. If I'm eating a lot of, drinking a lot of sodas and eating a lot of candy, then my body is naturally, it's on a lot of stimulants. And so it causes them to be able to not control themselves the way that they would if they were off of it. So diet helps out a lot. It says it decreases frontal lobe blood flow and function, worsens performance of short-term memory, and it produces dependence. And we talked about dependence on it because now your body's not producing what it needs to in order to start its day. Let's talk about the heart and circulation, how it affects that. So it stimulates the heart muscle more than it needs to be. My heart already beats. It sends signals throughout my body to beat at a certain point. And then when I take the caffeine or when I take the coffee, it starts to beat harder, all right, or faster. It says it raises your blood pressure, raises the free fatty acids, cholesterols, and lipoprotein levels in the blood. It may cause irregular heartbeat and palpitations. It lowers the threshold for ventricular fibrillation, and it heightens the risk for cardiac arrest. All right. And we talked about heart disease and things of that nature. A lot of people have heart disease as a result of their diet and what they consume as far as caffeine and other drugs. So caffeine on our body chemistry. So it raises our blood sugar levels, makes a person feel like they have extra energy that's really not there. It decreases iron absorption due to the tannins present. And then also too is associated with maternal and fetal anemia. So those individuals who may be pregnant and they're taking caffeine, it has an effect, or it can have an effect, put it that way, on your development, all right, in childbirth, okay? Moving on. So the digestive system, caffeine in the body, how it affects the digestive system. So it stimulates the production of stomach acids and can worsen peptide ulcers. It relaxes the lower esophageal sphincter, thus contributing to heartburn. So if you happen to have heartburn and you have caffeine, if you limit your caffeine, you drink more water, what you may find is that heartburn may actually go away. On our reproductive system, it may cause a delay in conception, spontaneous abortion, birth defects, and low birth weight. Now, we're not saying that everything may actually happen. It actually affects everybody differently. But these are things that actually can happen, especially if you take it on a consistent base and in large doses. So we're going to look at some other effects of caffeine. So it dilates the bronchi and relaxes the smooth muscle. It worsens symptoms of PMS or premenstrual syndrome. It raises the risk of bladder cancer and suspected carcinogens and other cancers. It increases the loss of calcium and magnesium via the urine, increasing the risk for osteoporosis. All right. So can caffeine be addictive? The answer is yes. And when you have a drug, especially in the field when I work, I work in a psychiatric hospital. It's an acute psychiatric hospital facility that actually has people come in that have all kinds of different addictions and things of that nature too, and other different problems as well. And they seek assistance for withdrawal, because whenever you take whenever you take drugs, typically there's a withdrawal symptom or a withdrawal period that actually takes place when you're trying to come off of the drug. Some people who take drugs for a long period of time, their body's got so accustomed to it, they can only adapt with that drug in the system. And when you actually remove that drug from the system, it actually starts to get out of whack. It can actually kill some people. I don't know if anybody has had, but withdrawal symptoms can be very serious. It can actually cause life-threatening issues if not managed appropriately. But the best thing is prevention, isn't that right? See, an ounce of prevention is worth what? A pound of cure. So we see here that, yes, it can cause withdrawal symptoms, and it includes dizziness, agitation, or irritability, restlessness, recurring headaches, difficulty sleeping, tremor in the hands, perspiration of the hands, feet, and also more as well. And so I'll tell you just a quick story of a coworker that was it last week? If not last week, it was the week before last, but I believe it was last week. She came down into our unit where I was on, and I was looking for some coffee, but there was no coffee that was down there, particularly at that time. But there was a jar full of candy that somebody had brought, I guess, a little bit earlier that day. So she says, "Well, I don't have coffee, so I'll go ahead and I'll take the chocolate." So she took a whole bunch of chocolate and she left. And so as I was going through my night, I went back to the unit where she was on, because I was dropping off a patient, and she made sure to holler to me to tell me. She says, "Hey, that candy worked out for me." And so that just let me know something, that even though she couldn't get the coffee, which was had what it is that she needed, caffeine she needed, she did what? She substituted it with what? Chocolate, candy, and it still gave her with the boost that she actually needed. And so it's very important for us to understand just the effects of how these stimulants work in our system. All right. And so caffeine in children. Now, I know you see the words, but if you look behind the words, what do you see? It's not that light. Anyway, it's a kid who's going like this with a mean face. Caffeine has a negative effect on children. We talked about this just a little bit. And it says, because children weigh less, caffeine has a greater effect on them. 1 can of cola for a child is often the equivalent of 3 to 4 cups of coffee for an adult, depending on the child's weight. And so if we're giving our children sodas and things of that nature, then then we say, well, I don't know what's gotten into Johnny. Johnny is not being obedient. Johnny is not following instructions. Johnny needs less Coca-Cola. Johnny needs less. And I guarantee you that if you give him less Coca-Cola and less sodas and things of that nature, then you'll have a less headache on ourselves as well. Is that right? All right. And so that happens a lot. We wonder why kids are not attentive in school, and kids are not attentive to tasks, things of that nature nowadays. They're more entertained by TV and things of that nature as well. Diet plays a big part into their ability to function on a day-to-day basis. Right. So cancer risk. So we're talking about how it affects the body, and so we're saying that cancer is the #2 killer in all of the world. Cancer is the #2 killer in all of the world, not just the United States, but the world. And we're seeing here that the things that we eat, the drink, and all that we do affects our ability for, affects whether we'll become susceptible to these common diseases that we talked about in week 1. And so it says that coffee also contains the following cancer-causing chemicals. All right, and they're all listed there. And it says that tea has the same effects related to caffeine content. In addition, it is associated with an increase of rectal cancer. And so we see that tea and coffee both have caffeine in it, which causes or can lead to cancer in the system. All right. And so now we're going to talk about caffeine and chocolate. Caffeine and chocolate. And we see here that caffeine, that has effects related to, give me 1 second, the causing of stimulation of the central nervous system, It also causes sleepiness, general or localized itching, depression, and anxiety. And everybody may not have the itching, but a lot more people may have depression because, depression and anxiety is not only caused by, it's caused by a variety of different factors, your environment, circumstances and things of that nature. But when you compact it with different drugs, you compact it with different things, it makes it more burdensome on the person. So a lot of people were struggling with depression, by changing our diet, it could actually help as well. And the theobromine found in chocolate and tea has been suggested by research to double the risk of prostate cancer at 20 milligrams daily. And it says that bacterial contamination, salmonella, is occasionally a problem. And we know that when we talk about chocolate, if you know anything about how chocolate is made, it's not made in the best conditions. They have all kinds of, I'm gonna tell you, so, but it has all kinds of like insects and rodent feces and things like that too, that actually are inside of it. Now, what you have to understand is like the FDA and things of that nature only limit, they only have a threshold that they have that it can or cannot have certain things. We recognize that some of the things that we have are going to have some items in it that may not be best for us. And one of the things that I've actually heard when I was listening, when I actually heard this one time before too. Now, I haven't eaten chocolate in I don't know how long, but the statement was made by Elder Thomas Jackson, Dr. Thomas Jackson. He said that you have Reese's in your Pieces, Pieces in your Reese's. And when you stop and you think about that, it doesn't sound too appealing, is that right? So, next time we go pick up a Reese's, just remember, maybe some Pieces inside of it. All right. And so just make sure when we have different bacterial contaminants that are inside of the chocolates. Not only is it a drug, it has caffeine and other different things in it, but it also has contamination in it as well. All right. And so we see here that caffeine and chocolate, the combination together is associated with allergic reactions, including headaches, stomach, intestinal problems, respiratory problems, nosebleeds, skin problems, and contains thiamine as well. It says that chocolate contains alpha methylbenzine, alcohol, and carcinogens, which also are cancer-causing agents. Chocolate contains tannins, which also leads to digestive system cancers, and it also contains oxalic acid, which basically passes outside of the body and depletes the calcium, depletes the body of calcium. It passes through the body and depletes the body of calcium, needed calcium that we need in our body. So all of these things, all of the methylox things are found in coffee, tea, and chocolate have been implicated in the development of breast cysts and the development of fibrocystic breast disease. And the women of fibrocystic breast disease have an average of 4 times the risk of breast cancer. And so we see here, what are some things that we can do in order to prevent and prevent us from becoming susceptible to some of these diseases and illnesses that come from caffeine? How can we cure it? And also, too, what are some substitutes that we'll have? We'll go ahead and take a look at it. So let's look at coffee. First thing is getting proper rest. A lot of times we realize that we're taking coffee or people are taking coffee and things of that nature because they're just not getting proper rest. Where our body can rejuvenate itself from the previous day's work and prepare itself for the next day. We don't get those dopamines and things that are released, time released in our sleep as we go through our process of sleep into REM sleep, things of that nature to prepare us to be able to handle the next day's challenge. So because we fail to get proper rest, people supplement it with coffee. Temperance and schedule routine in all other areas of life. And that's very important because if we don't overwork ourselves or put too much on ourselves, then therefore we don't need we're not always tired and seek those stimulants in order to keep us moving throughout the day. To seek a natural energy supplement. And some of the natural energy supplements is eating or drinking dark leafy vegetables, such as like kale, Swiss chard, collard greens, mustard greens. You can eat those things, or you can actually like blend them up. There's some people that in the morning time they actually blend up their green leafy vegetables in some, water or some other, juice or something that you like that's good for you. Blend it up, and you can just drink it. You know what I mean? As you start off your morning, that's a smoothie or a shake. All right. Vitamin B12, which is very good. A lot of people are low in that, and that actually helps produce energy as well. And then also iron and melatonin as well. Melatonin helps us as we sleep throughout the night. Some people who take just a little bit of melatonin in order to help them to get a better night's rest. It helps to relax your system as well, and then helps you to wake up rejuvenated on the next day. All right. Tea. And the substitute for that is to basically drink herbal tea. It's healthier and it's also caffeine free. When we talk about your regular teas or the teas that have the caffeine, those are the teas that use the leaves and they're brewed. Well, when you look at the brewed tea, you always know that that's the one that has the caffeine in it. But your herbal teas that actually take like the roots and things of that nature and actually are they're steeped from the entire plant, like the stems, the roots, the flowers, the bark, and things of that nature. In order to give you the components of the herbs from that plant. Those are better substitutes than drinking your regular tea. And also another thing for coffee too, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. It won't give you the stimulating effect, but aroma is something else too. You may have heard of aroma, R-O-M-A. Aroma is something that people tend to substitute coffee with if you want to have somewhat of that flavor. It's not the same, but it is a substitute for it. And then also chocolate. We've been talking about this, and you guys have experienced it in some of the desserts that have been prepared for you. Was it carrot powder? And so it's finely ground pods from a tree. The Serotonia siliqua are ground into flour. And the carrot is high in minerals and vitamins such as calcium, potassium, and phosphorus, magnesium, silicon, iron, vitamin A, niacin, and traces of B1 and B2. It says it's rich in natural sugars, high in fiber, low in starch, low in fats, and does not contain the methylathines listed above. So carrot, I know it may taste a little bit different, but it is a lot healthier than it's a lot healthier than the caffeine, the chocolate that we use on a daily basis. All right, and so we're just going to take a quick recap as we are winding down. And so caffeine is what? A drug. Caffeine is a drug, and it acts as a stimulant on the nervous and digestive system, and actually all throughout the body. So caffeine has negative effects on the nervous system, the body chemistry, digestive, and the reproductive system. Caffeine, as any other drug, can be addictive. And here's the thing about addiction. A lot of times we don't even know it. A lot of people aren't familiar with, you try it one time and before you know it, it's something that become a habit, accustomed to you. And then we have difficulty coming off of it because before we knew it, we actually, our body has become, it craves it, it desires it. And also too, caffeine can have an aversive reaction on children and also their behavior as well. Caffeine is associated with many forms of cancer. And we also talked about, just in the last slide, different substitutes that we can do. Getting proper rest for coffee, because again, a lot of times we just need some sleep. Temperance in our routine. It's okay to say no. I had an aunt who sent a message to me a little bit earlier today, and that's basically what it was talking about. It's okay to take care of yourself. Now, it's not about being selfish, but it's about being temperate. And if you're overwhelmed or overworked, you have to be able to say no sometimes in order to follow the laws of God. I was talking to a pastor one time, and I can't remember the conversation we were having, but it was going along the lines of working in the ministry. And I had to say to him, I said, we have to make sure that we're obedient to God, even in doing His work. Because if we're disobedient to God in doing His work, the consequence still comes, right? Because we said that the curse causeless shall not come. That means there's a cause that comes by. And we know that there's many people who haven't went to an early grave because they were overdoing the work of the Lord, doing the work of multiple people when God didn't ask them to do so. But stay faithful in God's work. He'll show you what to do and how to do it, all right? And so we see here seeking natural energy supplements, drinking herbal teas versus the brewed teas, and also carrot powder. Always remember, as we go throughout this, our lives, God's plan, godly trust, trusting in God to give us direction and wisdom and how we should live, because we're fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you ever want to know about a car and how it works and operates, you go what? To the owner's manual, right? You go to the owner's manual, because the owner's manual tell you how it's supposed to be made and how it's supposed to work. Open air, getting fresh air every day, daily exercise, sunshine, proper rest, lots of water, always temperate, and nutrition. And once again, God has a plan for you. God has a plan for you. And we see in 3 John chapter 1, verse 2, it says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prosper." God desires for you to be in health. And not only to be in health, but that he wants you to prosper as well. And we know that disease, if we have disease upon us, we're not prospering the way that we should, if we're prospering at all. So let us be mindful of these things so that we can actually live a prosperous life in the Lord. And in 1 Corinthians 10:31, it says, "Whether therefore you eat or drink, or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God." That's very important. Why is it that everything that we do is last and eating and drinking is first? And he knew that there was something with eating and drinking and how it actually affects our mind, it affects our body and our ability to be able to worship him. So again, be mindful on what it is that we eat. And then we have a choice to make. We have learned some new information on today, maybe some information that you knew already, but we have a choice to make, whether we're going to go left or whether we're going to go right and follow after what it is that we know to do. And so with that being said, take this information and ask the Lord to help us day by day to overcome, day by day to move towards the ideal of what it is that he has. Because I can sit up here in front of you today and let you know that I'm not at the ideal. And even though I'm speaking this information, I'm preaching to myself as well. Isn't that right? So let us always strive to go according to what God would have for us each day. All right? Is there any questions that we have?
So you said, we've been coming and then you're trying to stop. For example, I am trying to stop certain behaviors, but like you were mentioning, some of those have become so dependent on it. Of course, headaches and all that stuff. So how do you really stop it? Or how do you know, when is it? Or where do you go to ask for medical help or whatever? Just, I'm getting these headaches. And I'm like, I know it because I'm trying to change certain things.
Right.
But what do you do? Like, is
Right.
there something that you do so they, or how long do they last?
Absolutely. And thank you for that question. So if everybody didn't hear it, and so as you're trying to make lifestyle changes, when you're making those changes, you're having ill effects that may come as a result of the changes that you're making, which are supposed to be good changes. How do you go and how do you work with those? There's some people who, when they, okay. So there is some people who are able to go and do what they call cold turkey. They can just say, hey, look, you know what? This is what I know, and I'm going to do it, and have none of the side effects. But for those individuals who may not be, what I would recommend is that instead of just saying, hey, look, I'm going from 0 to 60 or 60 to 0, actually, that you may go to 55, that you may go to 50, that you may go to 45, to 40. And so because what happens is that you have to ultimately, as we have weaned ourselves onto it, we have to wean ourselves back off of it. And so therefore our bodies will become less dependent on it so that we can actually come back to this natural state. The less you feed something, the less it gets fed, and so hopefully that actually helps. And so what I would say is if let's just say, and it's not you, but let's just say I'm a coffee drinker and I drink 2 cups of coffee a day or 3 cups of coffee a day, right? Then so I may say I'm going to drink 2 3/4 cups. I'm going to drink 2.5 cups, and ultimately get it to the point where, because God looks at your heart. Now, I want everybody to realize that, God recognizes what you're attempting and trying to do. And if we're trying to do something according to his will, the Bible tells, it's not supposed to be a sermon, but I'm going to say this. But, you know, it says in 1 John chapter 5, verse 14 and 15, it says, it's the confidence that we have in him. If we ask anything according to his will, that he hears us. If we know that he hears us whatsoever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we desire of him. That means that if I'm asking something according to the will of the Lord, and he's going to bless me with the ability to be able to overcome it. It may not be immediate, because if we did it immediately, sometimes we'll say, oh, well, that was all my doing. So the Lord has to help us and show us that it's through him that we can overcome.
Also, I wanted to just add that sometimes we got what we call body detox. And so that's a start, like a fresh start, a new fresh start. And when you go through that, many people go through a body detoxification, they lose the taste that they once had before. So that's sometimes, most people have to do it. You know, one has arrived, but we all have to go through whatever path is going to help us to overcome. So.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. That is absolutely true. A body detox, because over the course of our lives, our body has built up toxins and different things that we have. And to be honest with you, we should actually every so often, you know what I mean, on a schedule, detoxify our bodies. Somebody may say like once a quarter, you know what I mean? Once a quarter. Yeah, I see a head nod back there. So once a quarter, you just want to, you know, just flush your system out. You know, some people will use, I mean, an enema is one that actually gets like the lower system out. But then you have some that are actually from the top down that actually will flush your whole system. I don't have all of those on hand right now, but if we have any people who are familiar with maybe some detoxes that you could do, you can go ahead and share it now as well.
There's actually a soft cleanse. I bought my book with me every week, except one of this particular one today that deals specifically with.
I'm sorry, so we can hear you.
I brought my book with me. I was saying specifically on the body detox stuff for today on our previous week. I apologize. However, there is a soft cleanse, and which is kind of like a good colon cleanse, but it also just it just detoxifies. Most people who go to like lifestyle centers kind of go on this cleanse. There's many cleanses, but this is one that works. So if you want me to, I can bring that information with me next week. I don't know why I left it this week, but it is a soft cleanse. And I believe it's a certain amount of, it's just basically a certain proportion of sea salt to a certain amount of liters of water. I believe it's 16 ounces. Okay, 16 ounces of water. And you just kind of drink nothing but that, you know. But anyway, to go more in detail, I can bring that information with you next week so that you kind of know. But it works. I can tell you, I've done it once. It works.
Mm-hmm. Amen. But I'm going to apologize to you guys on camera as well, because we're supposed to be giving you a list of all of the recipes, everything that we've had. And this week has been a long one, and I had to get an opportunity. I didn't get an opportunity to do so. So please accept my apologies. We'll be getting you all the information as well. Is there any other questions? Thank you for your question.
Water, I have heard back and forth on this, and drinking a good bit of water, not a lot, before you go to bed. Well, anyway, I know it makes some people get up. So a lot of people get up. But I like to drink, but is it making the body work when it needs to be resting, or what's going
on? Anytime you ingest anything, it works throughout your system. That's one reason why for those who drink water before you go to bed, they have to get up in the middle of the night to go use the bathroom, because your body has done this process in order to do it. Now, based off of what I've studied, I preferably would go with nothing, or at least have prepared me drinking the water, not right at bedtime, but a period before bedtime, so that if I need to void one last time before I go to bed, I can get a good night's rest. Because even the process of getting up in the middle of the night breaks our sleep. And so our body, we have to understand just the importance of like that cycle of sleep. Our body goes through stage 1, stage 2, and it goes through all of those different stages in order to get the proper rest that we need. Anytime we get up in the middle of the night or it's disturbed, it has to go start back at the very beginning to go through it. So we never really get to the end stage, which and we're not talking about stages right now, so I'm not able to give you all of them, but the full stage. And so, is it wrong necessarily? I wouldn't say that it's wrong. Is it going to cause you to, to have, a common disease or anything like that too? No, not at all. Some people may want to flush themselves out before they go to bed, but I would just recommend, if you know that it's you that you have to get up in the middle of the night, use the restroom, things of that nature, then I would try to avoid it or schedule it so that I can actually have that, working through my system, void, and then go to sleep, get a good night's rest. And if there's anybody else who has something they want to share too, share it as well. And we don't claim to know everything based off of what we have studied and what we have known. We can give you the best recommendation that we have, but I encourage everyone to go and study for yourself as well. As we talk about the different cleanses and things of that nature, go in and Google, what are some healthy, like body cleanses, and then Google will come up with a whole list of things, and you can decide to do whatever it is that you would like, to do on your own, and so that works as well. But thank you for that question as well. Thank you for that question.
I was just gonna mention that on the front end, so at the start of your day, if you're not doing like lemon water that we discussed before, which helps to push things along the way, that warm, those of you who haven't been talked about squeezing the juice of one lemon into a cup of warm water, and let that be your first drink of the day, and that will get your body started in terms of using the bathroom. If someone's been constipated, that releases, it actually wakes up your organs. It wakes up your organs, and it also releases the tension, the constipation that you may have. So if you're not doing that, it is actually recommended. The reason why I say recommended is because I've spoken to many physician assistants that deal with lifestyle, and they recommend drinking water first of the day. If someone is trying to detox, but you're not on like a detox system, but you're trying to, not drink juice, I'll just go ahead and tell you, I was really kind of addicted to juice, and this is sugar. But drinking water helps to flush that out, because what happens is your liver can become fatty, and be at risk. The person could be at risk for diabetes. Just that simple. Constantly drinking juice or drinking those things. But water, at least 3 liters. I know that's the 3-liter mark of water is recommended in the morning if you're not doing like a lemon water, warm water detox, so that you can flush out all the starches and sugars that you may have had in the previous.
So really, start your day with water. Maybe that'll you say start the day with water. Any other questions? No. All right. With that being said, let me see. We have this 3:08. Let us take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back here and we will cook. All right, and get some more helpful living tips through food. Right? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back in about 10 minutes, okay?
All right. We actually, I'm gonna have, believe it or not, I'm gonna have my daughter come share something. She is very, very good with the science track and very knowledgeable when it comes to medicinal healing properties. And so I have her here. You have to be shy. She's gonna share a couple of things with you. And we're first gonna start with
we're going to be talking about aloe vera and the benefits of and the medicinal properties of aloe vera. So there are more than 360 species of aloe vera. Yet the aloe vera, with the Latin name of aloe
barbadensis. Yeah.
in the most medicinal one. This plant is received in its Latin name, vera, which means true, to distinguish it from the rest of the family. Aloe vera is a high sulfur and green succulent plant.
Related to.
And it is related to the lily family, which includes garlic and onion. Aloe vera is also known as a miracle plant because it is a high range of medicinal properties.
And they are?
And one of the medicinal properties is water. Aloe vera is made up of 99% of water, which acts as a solvent that contributes to therapeutic properties. And it also is full of vitamins such as B1, B2, B3, and B12, and vitamin C, folic acid, and much more. Major minerals such as calcium, magnesium, copper, and aluminum, sodium, and aloe vera also contains 30 out of 70 minerals needed for good nutrition.
Yeah, 13 out of 17 minerals. But and they also have some enzymes, and those enzymes are such as lipase, oxidase, oxidase, and some more dases. We just want to share with you a couple of things. Also, it's good for amino acids, carbohydrates, and triglycerides, steroids, and sterols. And so there's other healing properties and remedies as well. But the reason why we wanted to discuss and bring up aloe vera is because one of the things that many people suffer silently with is hemorrhoids. And aloe vera is good, very beneficial for hemorrhoids. You can cut and slice a piece of aloe vera off. Of course, you want to, get it to where the skin is not on. You want to skin it, and yes, you're absolutely right. So this aloe vera plant has probably seen better days, but when you cut the plant, you want to slice it off and let it kind of run in your sink, because there is a residue, a yellow residue that kind of excretes from it. And and so you just want to keep way of that. But in terms of preparing this for a person that's suffering from hemorrhoids, you would get it to where the skin is completely off, and you would slice a little piece of it off, and you would then put it in your freezer to freeze, to solidate, and then you can, I want to be too graphic, but you would insert it in the bottom rectum area. So that's one way to heal a person that has hemorrhoids. And many people have this. Women get it, after childbirth, and people who are suffering from constipation typically suffer with hemorrhoids. So aloe vera is very medicinal and very beneficial for that. Another remedy for hemorrhoids is potato.
As a power-packed food, potatoes alone can meet the body's dietary needs.
Supplemented.
With occasional greens. This most cultivated vegetables is packed with nutrition. A balanced and complete meal. A potato consists of 60% of carbohydrates and 11% of protein and 2% of fats, making it more balanced, nearly complete food compared to meat.
And so a potato has, what do you call it, the word is on the tip of my tongue, anti-inflammatory healing properties. So the same thing that you can do with the aloe vera, you can do the same thing with the potato. You can do it with or without the skin. It's actually beneficial. A lot of people even try to skin their potatoes when they're cooking, but it's more healing properties in the skin of the potato. So you can use that and at your discretion, either slice it off or leave it on, but you will sculpt it in a way where you can also insert it or not insert it, I'm sorry, lie it in between the buttocks, sorry. So this is another way to, if something's inflamed down there, you could just slice it and just lay it there and sleep like that overnight, and it will bring about healing remedies. All right, thank you, Caitlin. Thank you. All right, thank you. I'm going to also share one other thing with you, and that is castor oil. How many people know about the castor oil? Yeah.
Grew up with it.
All right. And this is the one that is 100% solvent free. And this is very beneficial for many, you can get have you heard of a castor oil pack before? Anybody? Castor oil pack? Castor oil pack is another way to detox your body as well. And I can probably speak more with that to you maybe next week, because I can demonstrate to you how to make that. But this I wanted to bring up because this is another anti-inflammatory. Anything that's inflamed, you can apply castor oil. Now I'm going to share a little testimony with you. I have no idea reason why. I think why for me this has happened, but my eye actually has had a bump on it and the eyelid, and I applied the castor oil pack directly, castor oil directly to the eyelid, and it has over a couple of hours it has started to bump down. So it's very good for anti-inflammatory properties and reasons. So this is a thing you want to have in your cabinet. Of course you can get a good massage with it. Everybody knows that, but you can really detox your liver with a castor oil pack. So next week we're going to demonstrate to you what that looks like. And all it is that you get a white flannel and you want to have it heated. It could be a blanket, a towel or something like that, but white, all white with no dye in it. And you will, heat it in the oven and put, either a hot water bottle, or you can even use, I think, a heating pad, one of the ones that's electronic. And you can just, before putting that over the heating pad or the electronic device, you want to kind of saturate it a little bit, but not to a point where it's leaking, but saturate your
Cloth.
Yes, your white cloth. Thanks. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank here. With the castor oil, and wrap it, fold it, but have it where it's the heating pad is there, so you apply it directly to your skin. And the warmth from that, along with the oil, the healing properties will do something to your liver. It will actually detox. You do that over, you do like, I believe it's 6 days. It's almost like 6 days on and 1 day off, a rest day. And you do that for about 3 weeks, and your body will begin to detoxify. So that's just another way to detoxify your body. Just wanted to share that with you, and maybe, like I said, next week we can demonstrate more to you what that looks like. All right. I just felt like I wanted to share something with you all on that, because, you know, this is a health and wellness seminar. So with that being said, we are going to first start. I have 3 delicious, yummy recipes for you all today. 3. I know it looks like more, but it's 3. So we're first going to start with, how many of you like yogurt? Yeah, yogurt is one of my favorite yogurts. And when we became plant-based, I was running to, man, where's my Yoplait? I love Yoplait, but I've learned how to make yogurt healthier way. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you. And we're going to use the Vitamix. Some of you saw me kind of pre-making it a little bit earlier when y'all came in. So it calls for raw cashews, which is here. And it is a ½ cup of raw cashews. It does call for honey, but you can use any sweetener substitute. And today I'm using maple syrup. 5 tablespoons of that. And you can use any fruit of your choice. Blueberries, I'm using strawberries. This is what is this? This is, it says 2 cups it calls for, but you know, sometimes these strawberries are so big they don't kind of get down in the cracks and crevices, but you're supposed to use about 2 cups of your fruit of your choice. And you can use silken tofu. Now, I use silken tofu. Well, before I do that, I want to blend, because I see where we are right now. Let's blend this, because I don't want things to get stuck. Blend it just enough so that it won't, you know, get stuck here. So we're going to put also about 1/8 teaspoon. Yes, I can do that. Thank you. 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Yep. We're also going to use some vanilla extract, and that is a tablespoon of vanilla imitation. Also some lemon juice, and it is also a tablespoon. Now I'm going to also add, the recipe calls for silken tofu, which I did make for you all today, but due to the fact that it's not as thick as I would like it, I'm going to use this firm tofu for the demonstration purposes and see how this is literally my first time doing this. So, you know what? I apologize. I usually do this stuff with my gloves on, and I'm surprised my honey didn't get my attention with that. Okay. I'll try to keep things clean. All right, so it's 1 pack of silken tofu. And really what happens with the silken tofu, when you use it, you want to put it in the fridge or freeze it for a little while so that it can set. It will set. But we didn't have that because I didn't do it well in advance. So I'm going to see, this is really a serious demonstration here. We're gonna find out together what it does. Look it up. Let me try to see. I know the Vitamix is powerful, but you don't want to. Let's just use this. All right. I think that's good enough. Let's see what happens. And it did just what I expected it to do. It thickened. So this is yogurt. All you have to do is put this in the refrigerator and let it chill, and it's strawberry yogurt. So we have Sister Starks who will give you all a sample, and you're probably going to more so sample the taste instead of the texture because it's not as thick as I was hoping for. So that's a pretty simple recipe, right? To make yogurt simple. Most recipes are simple. Yeah.
I don't eat yogurt, but it tastes like cookie yogurt.
Yeah. It just probably the I don't know how thick it is, but it just needs to.
It tastes like that cheesecake center.
The cheesecake. Well, it does have the strawberry, fresh strawberry, so that's true.
Really good.
So, what are you all thinking about this yogurt?
Very good.
This is a healthier alternative here. I'm gonna put this over here. And this really, I don't know what consistency that is. It's probably not yogurt consistency, but I tell you, this right here is definitely thick, you know? And for those that like, I think they have really thick yogurts out there too. So, sorry, I'm gonna hand this off to you. If we could just maybe put that in a container. I don't know. Okay, thank you. All right. Yep. You know, these things are, it does have the lemon in it, which is kind of semi like a preserve. Probably about an hour, that's honesty right there. So
how long would it chill? Like how long?
Oh, to chill? Oh, probably about, like you say, about an hour. I thought she meant like an hour until it's gone because you're going to eat it. That is what she meant.
Okay, I'm single, so I would like to know how long it takes.
And put it in the fridge. Okay, so the lemon is in there, which is kind of like a preserve, because a lemon is it takes the place of vinegar. So anytime a recipe calls for something with vinegar, you just substitute it with lemon juice, and it is a preservative. So you could probably keep this probably about a week or so, but I'm saying that caution. Yeah, I'm saying it with cautionary because it is fresh ingredients. You know, anything fresh kind of tends to turn a little bit sooner, right?
But you can't freeze this.
I'm sure you could freeze it.
That's what I do.
I've never done it before. I've never freezed it before.
I mean, with regular substitution.
Oh, well, there you have it. You probably can turn this into a popsicle right here. A yogurt popsicle or something. Or one of those little things that they squeeze up to go push-ups. Absolutely. And they can dig in it and just eat it and yum yum. So, yep, you can do the sky is the limit. Listen, cooking is an art, right? So they have culinary art, they have different types of art. So with art, what do? You get creative. So you can do whatever you choose to do in the kitchen. Can't nobody tell you you're wrong. All right. Now, this is a recipe that the next recipe we're going to make is something that I want to share with you. Let's see, should I do that first? Yes, I apologize. I'm going to go here first because of what I have to do. I'm going to kind of double back a little bit. So, the first important meal of the day is the most important. It's the first important thing. I gave y'all the clue when I said the first, but that's not what I meant to say. The most important meal of the day is breakfast. And last week, I shared with you a demonstration on what you can do with tofu, and we had it in an Asian dish, and it was good. And so this is just another alternative. As you see, we use tofu as a yogurt. We're going to use tofu, most of you probably know, as a scrambled tofu. And I'm going to do this for you live.
What's yogurt made of?
Yogurt?
No, what is that made of?
This is tofu.
So what is that made of?
Soybeans.
100%? Something like that?
Yes, this is firm,
Usually.
non-GMO soybean.
Okay.
We discussed this. We didn't go into it in detail, but we said that you can make tofu out of any bean. You know that. You can take lentils and do the same process. I don't have that book with me today, so I apologize. I had it last week. But you can take any bean. You can take lentils, pintos, any type of bean, and you can make your own tofu out of it because it's a bean. So it is a bit of a process, but it can happen. So I'm going to do for you this. This is going to be live. Well, I say live, I mean make this for you right here and right now. This is a tofu, scrambled tofu. One of the things that we like to do in our family is eat scrambled tofu. It goes with bagels, it goes with your grits, it goes with anything that you would do with eggs. So I'm going to do it live for you. And I'm just going to warm that up. The first thing I'm going to do is add, and this is just something that I do. Everyone seasons their food differently, but this is something I like to do. So this is curry. Nobody here is allergic to curry, right? Or can't stand curry, or I hope not. We're going to try something new today. So this is about a tablespoon of curry, and this is a teaspoon of turmeric. And you always, you kind of start to put that in here first. Why? Because you need it to kind of cook off. You don't want to put water or oil or in it first. And we try to, even if we did oil, we would try to do water as a substitute, like water saute, because the oil clogs up the arteries. So anytime you saute with, and I'm telling you, it's delicious when you saute with oil. But you can saute with water, and the flavors are still there. It's just healthier. Okay, so we're gonna put that in here and letting that get to a certain point. Turn that down a little bit, and while that's happening, I'm just going to take my tofu. Break it up. This is the part my daughter usually does when I'm in the kitchen. Crumbles up the tofu for me. Just to start, can I have a couple of paper towels, please? I didn't consider, and also some more of these. I didn't consider this when. Thank you. Just lay it right there. All right, it's starting to warm up. I just like to let it. You know, you don't want to burn it off, but you just want it to warm. Thank you. So this is 2 packs of firm tofu. And you can use extra firm, you can use whatever you choose. But I like the firm, and the silky doesn't work because it's just too mushy. So, all right. So, okay, I'm pretty much done breaking this up here. Just want to get these big chunks off. Watching my pot or pan so that it doesn't, the curry, you definitely don't want to have it, you don't want it to burn. Trust me, you don't want it to burn. So I'm going to go on ahead. While that's happening.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I missed it. Are you sauteing it in water or oil or by itself?
Right now, it's nothing in here,
Just
but
the
just the seasoning.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm getting ready to add a little water. I am getting ready to do that. So, yep. I'm smelling it, so that tells me it's about that time. Okay. All right. Okay. So we just want to coat the bottom with that. And really all it is just curry and turmeric, kind of, you can't probably see, but it's just brown liquid right now. And we're gonna announce. So when that happens, that's when I go and I add this is green scallions. And this is about 2, what do you call those? Stalks of the scallions. Thank you. Let's get all of it. And then, yeah, this is when you add your seasonings. This is about, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 cup, 1/3 cup of green bell pepper. Okay. Yep. All right. And, you know, you can add, sometimes I add tomatoes in with it. You can add red bell peppers. You can add regular onions in with it. I am going to get ready to add, my thyme. And my thyme, this is a teaspoon of that. And this is 2 teaspoons of the Italian seasoning. You know, it doesn't really take long for tofu to cook. Tofu is actually, all you really want to do is heat it up, really. So really the purpose, that's why I'm adding it in kind of last. The purpose of this is so that the vegetables and things you add cooks in, get the juices and all of that in. This is a 1/4 teaspoon of Himalayan salt. And I'm gonna, just a little bit, because, you know, well, the rest of it is in there now. Put that in there. But, you know, we talked about your herb mirror. You can use this, which is infused with herbs. So it takes the herbs, which is healthier and it's less sodium, which is good for people who, it's good for all of us, but it's good for people who are concerned with high blood pressure and other ailments that they may have. So here we are. We have our vegetables kind of cooking in. And I'm gonna go ahead on and, oh, you know what I forgot? I usually add garlic, fresh garlic. I usually do. I just dice them up and I try to add, you want to add your fresh garlic as much as possible. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I have garlic powder. So I'm going to add, this is a teaspoon and a half. I'm going to put that in there. But you would probably add about 2 or 3 the cloves of garlic, or whichever is your, your desire. Some people don't like a lot of garlic, but I do. I like a lot of garlic. All right, it's looking good in here. Now we're going to add the tofu. We add the tofu. And to the tofu, we're going to add about this is about 1/3 of nutritional yeast. 1/3, what I say, 1/3 cup, a cup. I didn't use all of it, so really about 1/4 cup. All right. And you just kind of play with it. I usually add my tomatoes in here. I didn't, probably just forgot to put it in here, but you know what? I really like adding colors to my food. You want to eat your colors. If it looks good, it usually going to taste good. So you try to eat your rainbow. That is a good way to remember this. So it's starting to really look like, I guess, yellow like an egg. I never really was big on eggs growing up. But I really like scrambled tofu. It's really delicious. I don't know, can you all smell anything?
Yeah. Good. I'll go see it. Start there.
Awesome. Okay, so we have this, and I'm not going to add the cayenne, but I have some cayenne here because I don't know who can take the heat and who can't. But you want to add cayenne as much as possible because it's good for your heart. All of the things that grow have something beneficial for us. And cayenne is good for the heart, and our heart is what helps keep us going. So we want to aid it along the way. So if you can add a pinch of it, it will go a long way. So I am just about almost done here. I'm just trying to get a little bit of the chunks that didn't get broken up all the way. But I'll tell you what, I usually add, like I said, the tomato, the red bell pepper, sometimes the purple onion. I like my food to look like something. So, but this isn't bad. This is green and yellow, pretty. And for those of you who want the oil, you can add it after if you absolutely want it. And the reason for that, again, is because, the more you fry something, the more it clogs up your arteries. But the less you do that, we use oil in salad dressing, so that's healthy. It's okay, it's just how you use it. Or the lesser, the best. So at this time, I think I'm about complete. I'm gonna hand this off to Sister Starks. I turn my fire down. I guess I could put this on. maybe show you all.
Oh, yeah.
See that?
Mhm.
That's what it is. So Sister Starks is gonna take this and do something with it and make it ready for you all. And while she's doing that, I am gonna jump back over here to the other part of your breakfast, which is a raisin date bran muffin. Raisin date, all of these things are delicious and yummy and good for you. And this, I have to say, this recipe did not come from me. My daughter had the privilege of going on with Brenda Walsh on her show last year, I think it was. And she made this recipe with Brenda Walsh. And so she sent it home with us. So we're going to demo it, and it is delicious. Okay, I want to try to clean up your area. Clean as you go, that kind of thing. Can't function with stuff. All right. So now, where am I? I think I am, Kendall. I need your help, son. Rinse this out for me, please. Thank you. So while he's doing that, did anybody have anything, any observations or any questions they wanted to say about this tofu that we just made? Make sure it's off, okay? No? Yes?
How is it without the nutritional yeast?
Without it, the nutritional yeast really helps to bring out that cheesy flavor. Also, it helps to bring, I say cheesy, but it doesn't taste like cheese. It's just that your tofu is bland. Everyone knows tofu doesn't have a flavor. You have to give it the flavor, and it will take on whatever you give it. So it's every other seasoning that we had in there without that. So it kind of is a little bland, Do you need a spoon or anything, Kaylin? Oh, just start having something. Do you need help? Kaylin's back in the house.
Erica?
Yes.
I have a question. What is your take on mushrooms?
I actually cook with them. I know some people don't because for different reasons. I think it may be because it's a fungi. I think. I believe, but like I said, people who do cooking demos, I've seen them cook with it. There's people who do cooking demos who does not, and so thank you. And so it's kind of hard to tell. I'm still researching it, to be honest with you. And I was telling my husband because there's a dish that we're going to do right after this one, and it could have I could have used mushrooms, but I opted out because I don't know where everyone's stance is on it.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes.
Mushrooms in that.
No.
Pros and cons about
Yeah, I'm not too sure about it. I'm still researching. I don't want to tell you something that's wrong, but I'm still looking into it myself. Yes.
Do we need to be worried about getting too much brewer yeast? What I'm thinking of, I've heard of pure brewer's yeast, a tablespoon or two, in some milk substitute or juice, just stir it up and drink it as a nutritional drink. Is there any, do we need to be concerned about limiting our intake of brewer's yeast?
On the yeast, I think that one is another one that's kind of up for, I've seen a little up for discussion, depending on how it's made, that's more so the concern, how it's crafted. I'm sorry, I was a little distracted. My mind is like, okay, what does it taste like? But
So
yeah.
are you saying brewer's yeast and nutritional yeast are different?
Brewer's yeast and nutritional yeast, I believe, are different.
Okay.
And I don't use brewer's yeast. I use nutritional yeast. So maybe that I should say nutritional yeast. So I don't know much about brewer's yeast. Nutritional yeast is the one I'm thinking of when I say some people say how it's made. So I have to do a little bit more research with the brewer's yeast, but people do use that. Yeah. Thank you for that question. I'm going to look into it. Yes.
Go back to the yogurt for a minute. I know people use macadamia nuts for replacement of cashews at their prices. Is there anything else that you can use to make that yogurt without the cashews?
You know what? I'm thinking just about any nut that you want to use, like almond, you probably could use. Because I've seen silk, plant-based silk, tofu, not tofu, silk yogurt in the stores, and it's almond. You know what I mean? They use almond. So I'll tell you why I believe that is because one day we were out completely of cashews. And I needed to make something, and on the dish was macaroni and cheese. And that's what I use. It's usually cashews. Thank you, son. Yes, thank you. I usually use cashews, but I only had walnuts in my pan, walnuts and pecans. I said, I don't think I want to use pecans for this, but I used walnuts. I let it, I didn't even soak them. I did the same ingredient, and it tastes just like, it didn't change the taste, the flavor. It just changed the presentation. It was a little darker. So if you're concerned about that, you know, to me it looked a little healthier because it was darker. But it was, you could probably use walnuts. Good question. Good question. All right, so now we have our bowls. I apologize for that. We're going to move right along, and we are going to share Raisin Date brand muffins. And hopefully, if Miss Brenda Walsh is watching, she will be excited about this. So we have 1 cup of all brand, plain all brand, no raisins included, just plain. And we're going to put that in here. Also to 1 cup of almond milk or any plant-based milk of your choice. Okay. We're then going to use 1.5 cups of wheat. But I'm going to say, before I say that, this is going to be then laid aside. So I've already mixed, put the all brand in the milk, put that here. Now I'm going to go to my dry ingredients. So we're going to add, it calls for wheat flour. This is spelt, which is a form of wheat flour. 1.5 cups of this. It's going to cause for baking powder, which is 1 teaspoon. Heidi. Okay. I actually need a spoon. I'm going to need mine. I don't need it right now, but I'll need it shortly. Cinnamon. When we talked about the type of cinnamon we use, Ceylon cinnamon. You can find it at Kroger's or Sprouts. And Ceylon, I believe I put it back. It's not out here right now, but I can show you afterwards if you're interested. So we have here 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon, thank you so much, of Himalayan salt, 1/4. And remember, we discussed about the importance of being a little less frugal about how our salt intake on previous weeks, because our body can only take but so much salt. And we have 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. And remember, you can use any starch. I think last week I used, what was it? Tapioca. Thank you. I always get tongue twisted with that. Tapioca. And this is also 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Now, I'm going to mention about the baking powder and baking soda. You want to try to get the one that's aluminum free. Aluminum is very, it's toxic. Yes, thank you, Sister Bear. It's very toxic to the body. And so You want to, as much as possible, try to not cook with it. And we have to be very careful. The things that we cook with today have a lot of aluminum. So baking powder and baking soda, you want to try to get. You can also pick them up at their health food stores or online.
Deodorant.
Yes, thank you, husband. Deodorant as well has aluminum, so you want to try to stay free. And there's stores that are becoming more health conscious. Like Walmart has a section where you can get it without. You can do different things. There's other things you can actually use. This is a sidebar, but you can use lemon and castor oil or what's the other oil? Coconut oil as a deodorant. You can use it, and you will be just fine. The lemon takes away the bacteria and it eliminates it. So yes. In where? No, just corn. This was today's. This recipe is just cornstarch. So let me get back to this so we won't get too much away. So this is my dry ingredients here, and I'm just going to stir this. Give it a nice stir. And usually I have my little whisk, where this, I whisk all of it in together and it's incorporated very well. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside and bring this back over to all bran in the milk. So we need now our sweetener, which it calls for a brown sugar, but we use coconut sugar. You can find this at Walmart, and it's a cup of coconut sugar. You can use probably any sweetener of your choice, to be honest. It does call for applesauce, and I have not brought it with me. I left it behind, so I do apologize. So the applesauce is also a half a cup, and applesauce is a egg substitute. So you can probably use flaxseed or any egg replacer that you choose, but this particular recipe calls for a half cup of applesauce for an egg replacer. So really, it's probably just a matter of your food binding together or not. It's not going to change too much of anything besides that. All right, a 1/4 cup of oil. This is vegetable oil. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay, and a 1/2 cup of raisins. And a 1/2 cup of dates. Now I pre-cut these dates because everybody knows that dates don't come like this. You have to do something to it. And if you put them in the blender or a chopper, it gets sticky. So you kind of have to chop them up. But this is a 1/2 cup of dates. And then you want to give this a stir. Nicely incorporated. And then I like to add my liquid to versus the powder to the liquid. It's just a preference, but you can probably do it either or. You want to, kind of slowly do that. Just put it all in here. Okay. Set that aside, and you want to give it a nice stir. And you know what? I just remembered something. Because I don't have applesauce in here, my consistency is going to change on me. But it's okay. We'll work with it. Not too much. Doesn't look too bad. It's just not as liquefied as it would be if the applesauce was in here. However, this is your mixture for your muffins. This is your muffin brand. You would just fill them in like so, and it actually calls for 12. It makes about 12 of the regular size muffins. And that is your batter for your raisin date brand muffins. So, hope that you all enjoy it. All right. And actually, because I have this with me right now, you want to make a copy of it, somebody can actually take that, make a copy with you, you can read with it. With it today. All right. While you're doing that, let me grab this real quick. So you have with you one with coconut shreds on the top and one without. You can put whatever you want, actually.
We get one of each.
You can add fresh strawberries. Put it on the top.
Thank you.
Sure. I know, I was with the price is actually right. And honestly, I am remiss because, you know, when you make your yogurts and things, you can add your granolas on, you know, and make yourself a parfait. I meant to tell you all that. I apologize. You can make yourself a parfait. You know, you can make your own granola. You don't have to store buy it. Just buy the oatmeal and make sure you have your. People make them different ways. You can get sunflower seeds. You can get almonds that are already kind of shredded. You can add coconut shreds. You can do whatever you want. Whatever your taste buds tell you, guess what? You put it in there, and there you have it. Okay. How is the date brand muffin?
Great.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's a healthier. It's healthy, right? Okay. Okay. So while you all are doing that, which one?
One that's 50th anniversary.
I did not bring that with me. I apologize. That's.
I wanted to tell everybody, if they write to 3ABN or call them,
They'll give you one?
you can get it for any donation.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's, there's 2 books. There's
Okay.
another one, the same lady has written.
We can bring it up on our, so that people can see it, bring it up on the, internet so that.
Don't
people
wait
can-
long. I mean,
Yeah.
I ordered 2 sets, but you can
That's
get
awesome.
any donation
Awesome.
amount. That's an updated book.
Okay, that's awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for sharing that. That's awesome. So I don't know if you heard that, but the books were here. I do apologize, you guys. The books were here prior to today. In the previous demonstrations, and she's speaking about the 10 Talents book.
Yeah, that's
The 10 Talents book. And they have an updated, because it's been around for some time, but they have an updated version. And right now, 3ABN is offering a, yeah, I believe you used it last night, so it's not in there. But for the salad dressing. But maybe it's in there. I don't know. Okay, so we'll pray that it's in there so you all can see it. All right, so but they're offering for your donations at any price, any donation, they are offering 1 for 2.
Well, there's another book, and you can get both of them, and it's called More Choices or something.
Okay.
Very nice.
Oh, I know that book. I have that one too.
That's the other book.
Okay.
So
Go ahead, 3ABN. I like that. All right. Yes, you can also have the fruit. I'm sure they would appreciate that too. This is the fruit is coming out on the fruit platters. Do you have something to get it with, or you want? Okay. Oh, take a picture of that, please, before it gets not looking like that. That's a beautiful artwork that Sister Starks did. She made that fruit platter. Thank you so much, Sister Starks. Beautiful. So, you know, if you notice it, for those of you who've been here since day one, you notice that I'm constantly giving you, you know, we've had salads, we've had fruit platters, different types, and you want to eat your fruit with your breakfast. Or you can, I mean, at least twice a day you want to have fruit. Fruit is a cleanser, you know? It helps to move your body along. And a lot of times if we're not having a bowel movement, it's because we're not having enough either water, fruit, which helps to move it through the system, and we're not moving enough. So we have to move. One thing it's important is that after we eat, every time after we eat, what is it good to do?
Walk.
You are good students.
Walk.
You are smart people.
I walk every day.
Walk. We call that it has a name, a digestive walk. And that helps to get your body along. So when we eat, we don't want to just sit down even though we feel like it, because they call that itis, right? The itis sits in. We want to not sit down just yet. We can sit down, but after we do our digestive walk. So we want to eat and then go on a 15-minute walk, just 15 minutes. And that's going to get your blood moving, get your body pumping. Okay? Get your body pumping so that you have good blood. The life is in the blood. The life is in the blood. Yes.
What time is the best time to eat fruit?
What time? Well, it's I couldn't tell you what time. Why? Because everyone is different and their schedules are different. So what I can suggest is when you eat breakfast, or if you're going to eat, some people eat it as a part of their light meal in the evening, like a fruit salad, or sometimes they do it. They won't have it depending on your breakfast. You know, honestly, you don't have to always have these types of breakfasts. Do you know you can eat your rice and your meats, like your vegan, your plant-based beans and things of that as a breakfast? You can eat that earlier. Remember we talked about, I think it was you all up here, and how our food, we have to reverse how, you know, the American way. We think that we're supposed to eat heavier in the evening when we're in fact supposed to eat heavier in the morning, because that's the most time we're going to be able to burn off that food, that fat. And the more closer we move toward the evening, eat lighter meals, or even have a soup. You know, have some light soups or some crackers, or even eat cereal. Those are some good options there. You know, the things that we would eat light and say, I want to eat something light, that's what you want to have in the evening, so that your body isn't working as if your organs aren't overworking, overtaxing itself. So as we learn, we just make minor adjustments as we move towards a healthier way of living. All right, so, oh my. All right, this right here is very simple and very quick. I'm just going to do something very simple. I'm going to sit this here. Then I'm going to move down this way. This is a recipe that I do from time to time, and honestly, it's simple. I'm sure everybody does it. It's roasted veggies. And the reason why I did not throw in tofu is because we have enough tofu through our yogurt and through our scramble. It's not really good to eat too much of anything. So I didn't want to put too much soy. But on days when you don't have a lot, you can throw in, and you can marinate your tofu. You can roast it. You can do whatever you want, but it adds to your dish. So to this, we have, you know, some broccoli right here, and as well as sometimes I call them baby cabbages, but they are not. Brussels sprouts, thank you. And so, you know, you just kind of give it, you just put that in there. All I'm doing really is just demoing to you. Just to start, can I have a spoon, please? All I'm doing is demoing you. This is zucchini. I'm just showing you, telling you what I have. in your next dish that you're going to sample, you're going to eat. Okay? Thank you so much. That's zucchini. This is a yellow squash. Again, we talked about eating your rainbow. Just eat the colors, right? Now, we have some beautiful peppers here, green peppers. We have orange.
Oh, it's not big.
It's not big enough. We're going to make it work. Yeah, we are. Red. Okay. Now, we got some onions. You can throw in your red onions. I love me some red onions. Yeah. And I have here also carrots. Okay? Sometimes people have a hard time eating carrots. It's a really good way to put them in your vegetables roasted. And I am just going to try to toss it as best I can. As best I can. Can I have my spray bottle over there, Kendall? The pan, I mean the olive oil, I keep saying pan, but it's olive. Usually at home I have like this big bowl. Thank you so much. So I use this, which is olive oil, you know, because it's healthier than the canola, but for pan even. Sometimes I use the avocado. I just spray the bottom of my and now, honestly, sometimes all you can do is just arrange it on there. I think what I'm going to do for the sake of this demo is just bring this on over and just start adding them. Let's just start adding it in. This. You just want to eat your colors. You eat your colors. You do your you know, everything else, like the exercising here and there when you can, and drink your water when you're supposed to drink, but not while you're eating or right after. Who remembers how long before you eat are you supposed to drink?
30 minutes.
Okay, 30 minutes. What about after? Someone said 2 hours. 2 hours? You are ding ding ding. You are, like I said, on point students. You all remember, or maybe you all just know this information. So usually, I could have probably put half and half in here. Half of everything so that I can get it all in here. But I want to share with you, all you do this is Italian seasoning, and this is a tablespoon of that. This is 1.5 teaspoons of thyme. This is garlic powder. And you do want to try as much as possible, chop up your garlic powder. I mean, your garlic cloves, or even mince. You can use mince, and it really tastes yummy. Okay, so this garlic powder is 2 teaspoons of that. Now, I need something here. While I'm thinking about it, sometimes at home I will put them on here. These shish kebabs, you know. You can actually just shish kebab. You do know what shish kebabs are, right? Everyone knows that. Okay, that's I said it, and people were like, but you know, you just stick them right on, and I do that quite often. So if you want something festival or something creative, you know, there's different ways to eat your roasted veggies. So I need something. I need I know Sister Starks is over there working hard, so I'm not gonna bother her. I'm just gonna be creative right now. A knife or something, a spoon really. Just something to small, something small, a small something so I can stir this. Okay. All right. This will work. Thank you, baby spoon. All right. So now to everything I just added, we have lemon juice, which is a tablespoon of lemon juice. Okay. I'm gonna give it a little stir. And to the tablespoon, or to that mixture, you really need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So this is where I get the olive oil, but I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna eyeball this right now. Probably a little bit more than that. And you're gonna add that to the mixture. Thank you. Okay. So here you have what you're going to use. And typically, when I have my big bowl and I'm doing this, I usually mix it all in here in a big bowl. Mix it up real well before I add it here. So I don't know how this is going to work. But that's usually what I do. And then, let's see if I can manipulate it a little bit. There you go. I'm going to turn it over like that. Usually I try to keep it in the bowl before adding it to the to this container here. This dish, baking dish. And what am I doing, you guys?
It's every
little nook and cranny. That's right. I'm getting it all. That's right. Cause still, look at that. There's still, listen, there's still stuff in there. So I'm just gonna get all of it. All of those delicious, all of that deliciousness. All right. So then, ideally, when it's in the bowl, you want to, and if I need help, since I did it like this, I'll just add a little bit of oil on it. But honestly, it's not that bad. It smells good. These Italian and garlic flavors. And so the lemon juice, I wanted to share something about that. Who knows why I use lemon juice? No? Nobody? It's okay. Lemon juice, one, it is a preservative, but lemon juice is a crafty way to lessen the salt intake. Okay? So you can use lemon juice, which, you know, the people say, oh, I can't live without salt. Yes, you can. You just got to know what you use. So the salt is not good for you. So you can use that. Also, you can use your herb mare, which is infused with herbs along with a little sodium. And so when that's completed, and just imagine cubes of tofu in this dish, you know, after you've maybe seared it a little bit over the stove. You can, like, if you don't have a non-stick pan, you can use and just kind of, you can cube it and do the same thing. And the same thing I did with the regular scrambled tofu, you can do that with the cube tofu. Or if you want to, walk away from it. All you have to do is put it in the oven and bake it for, I would say, 400 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes, like that. And you kind of watch it and see if it's, you know, when it gets tough enough and brown, a little bit brown, then it's ready. And you can, like I said, toss it in here with your veggies. But this is how you do that. You would do that. And I'm going to put a little bit more oil on here just because of how we mix this. Just a pinch. a little bit. Nothing much. Okay, and like I said, if you want to add a little bit of something to it, you just put a little bit here. And I would think that's less than that's not even 1/8, maybe 1/8. So you add that, and then you don't want to forget something last, which is your rosemary. I like to add rosemary to my vegetables. I just try to crunch it up. And this dish, at 400 degrees, you would bake it, and it would be complete at 20 minutes. You would have a complete dish. And that's oh, look at my potatoes sitting here. You all saw my potatoes and didn't tell me nothing. You were wondering about my potatoes?
Yeah, uncovered in the oven, this week we're talking about.
Yes, you can leave it. You can leave it uncovered. Covered. You can put it on a cookie sheet if you wanted to, a regular cookie sheet, and just put it right on in there. That's what I did to these vegetables that you all are eating. Yes.
With mushrooms, that
No, you can throw. This was the dish I was referring to when I said I would have added mushrooms to it, but everyone doesn't always eat it, so I left it out. But mushrooms could be added to it. Anything you would do with your vegetables. This is just an option to share, because sometimes people have a hard time trying to eat their vegetables. So here's an option: roasted vegetables over. We left our quinoa. Our quinoa is in the oven. I mean, in the warmer. So that vegetables was supposed to go over that. But that's an option. Okay. So you can eat this over brown rice, quinoa, anything like that. Be creative, and that way you get your grains, you get all the things that your body needs. Okay, these are just creative ways. I'm throwing my potatoes in now, so because I will bake this. But okay, you just throw it on in there. And with the potatoes added to it, you may have to add another 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes on to it. Why? Because the potatoes they're different. You know, they cook a little longer. Unless you bake them separately and then add them to your dish later. You could do it that way as well. But this right here concludes our dish or our cooking demonstration. We just want to share some delicious alternatives to you that you all can add to your regimen. Does anybody have any questions? You know what? Oh, sorry. Thanks. Does anybody have any questions about it? Anything? No? How does it taste? Very good. You all are quiet, and I'm like, how does it taste? Our face. So these are alternatives, you know, and just ways to eat healthier, just ways to add to, and remember again, color. Eat the rainbow as much as possible, whether it's fruit or whether it's your vegetables. Eat your rainbow, and you will be on your path to better health.
That's great. That's great. You guys enjoyed yourself today?
Yes.
We did as well. And so that brings us to the conclusion of our third week. We invite you to join us on next week for our fourth and final week for our health and wellness class. A month has almost gone by. It's gone by quick, hasn't it?
Yes.
All right. And so we appreciate you guys joining with us. I know we've shared some information with you guys. It's also been very informative for us as well. And so once again, thank you guys for coming, especially the faces we've seen from week one as well. Though we appreciate everyone coming. All right. we're going to go ahead and give a word of prayer. We have some movement going on, so we'll wait till it finishes. But while we wait, we also do have some items, some baked goods for sale as well. So please feel free to hang by this a little bit. We also have a cookbook for sale as well.
Yes.
These you may freely eat. And it's a nice small cookbook that can help you get started as well on making that change in your eating lifestyle, eating habits as well. So it's good to have something to start with. There's many cookbooks out there, but this is a good starter to help you go on as well until Sister Jones makes her own.
Which we're waiting for.
Right. Brother, that's what.
Yeah, I think we all want to just say thank you very much for coming here.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. I mean, you put a tremendous amount of work.
Definitely. Thank you.
We appreciate your attitude, your disposition, and everything. Everybody say amen.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. All right, we're going to go ahead and pray. You know, it's a few minutes behind, and so we'll let you go about your day as well. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this day, Lord. We recognize, Lord, that it's your desire that we may be in health and that we may prosper. And we ask, as we've come together to get more knowledge, dear Lord, on your ideal for us, that you would also give us your Holy Spirit to give us the power to be able to live according to do it. We know that if we ask anything according to your will, we have the petition that we desire. So in faith, we thank you, dear Lord, for the blessing that we would have in living a more healthier lifestyle. Be with us as we separate from this place, but never from your presence, and bring us back together at the next appointed time. We ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. You guys are dismissed. Thank you guys for joining with us online as well. All right. God bless.